and he'll be held in the highest esteem now. You know, he's got a fair bit to do to catch Dusty Martin, but he's well on his way. It was extraordinary, wasn't it? I don't think we haven't seen a team kick 100 points in a half of footy. 7 goals, 3 from centre bounce is just something that you never plan for. And 4 goals, 4-1 in that third was just significant. And it was a brutal performance. It was powerful. It was dominant. Petrarca built for finals footy, very similar to Oliver. But as I said, Jackson's involvement. He was outstanding, and I think, you know, people forget that he's only 19 years of age, and I felt, and just my opinion alone, that he changed the course of that game. Really, the only time in the game where it is genuine 1v1, which is at centre bounce, and Melbourne were just brutal in the contest and were able to capitalise. Yeah, I mean, you just have to look at the score involvements column, don't you? And it reads 15. And we've been waiting for this. We've been wanting it and waiting it. We've seen the potential that he has at his disposal. He's clearly worked on his game, and the interviews that you read around the ability to focus in and stay in the moment, which is what he's done. But you look at attributes and you look at a domination. And the type of game that he played, it was certainly one for the ages, and he'll be held in the highest esteem now. You know, he's got a fair bit to do to catch Dusty Martin, but he's well on his way. Very similar traits, ability to break open the game, and the way he was able to exit stoppage in particular with his power and brute strength out the front of stoppage, not only at centre bounce but all round and get others involved was exceptional. Yeah, he took some brutal hits as well, didn't he, Brayshaw? I thought he played his role really well. He was lower and harder when it mattered, held his width really well on the wing, kicked a crucial goal and set up a number of others. So I thought Brayshaw was, his reputation, we know what he's certainly capable of. And really, you think about players playing different roles, and in any other side, he's an inside midfielder. But he's got a good understanding and to be selfless, and we know he can play that wing role really well, and he's capable of doing it. And we saw it on the biggest stage in a granny. So you spoke about good players turning up to play and star players, and they did. And Brayshaw certainly sits comfortably in that bracket. Yeah, out of his 25, he had 14 contested, didn't he? I mean, he's just a beast inside, and to have a game high, 12 clearances. It's really what he's born to do, isn't he? You couldn't have scripted a better game for Viney in terms of the threats posing the other way against Liberatore, his ability to get involved as well. But yeah, Viney was clearly in the top 5 players, in my opinion. His ability, what he was able to do to release the ball and get it going their way to the runners was a great effort. Yeah, well, they're two different systems, aren't they? The Dogs want their +1 inside at the stoppage, and the Melbourne want their stability, and they'll take it and they'll hold. So very different systems. Melbourne's early on worked really well, didn't it? I mean, the Dogs still had 16 inside 50s in that first quarter, but for 1 goal. So it was working for the Dogs. They just weren't scoring. So they had to change things up with that. Very good defensive effort from Melbourne, 16 entries and only just the 1 goal. So some of May's spoils and ability to recover was pretty decent. Norton didn't test him. I felt Norton didn't test him at all. He's got to get him moving. If he's done a hammy, you had to test him out, and I didn't feel that Norton did that all that well. I think overall it's hard to score. It's very hard to score, and we knew that, particularly against Melbourne's defence, that they while they didn't intercept and go and score off their intercept defence, they held up strong. Well, I think early in that third, it was a bit of keepings off, wasn't it? They had it. They had the game. They got to 19 points up, and they had that game on their terms. And then we just saw that dominance was around the contested ball. And we know the midfield is where the game's won and lost, and you only have to look at that third quarter, and particularly from the 16. 15-minute mark where they just were so explosive around stoppage, Melbourne. Their ability to transition the ball and go, and then we knew their centre bounce work was going to be elite. So I feel when you look back at it, English has Beveridge seen enough of him. English, it's such a critical part. A couple of his efforts, the centre bounce stuff. Do they keep tolerating that? Which will be the question for, I'm sure, Beveridge and his coaching team. But I feel, the midfield area, they were just so dominant through there in all parts of the ground. He troubled. As soon as Bontempelli pushed forward, Oliver didn't want to go with him. Viney didn't go with him. He took that mark on Salem for his second goal. So he tested him. And they rattled Melbourne's defence. Well, he rattled Melbourne's defence. I mean, you don't want your half-back playing on Bontempelli when he pushes forward. He needed to hand over to Lever or Mate. Clearly, your best defender needs to take the best forward when he's down there, or the resting mid. 25-3 in a grand final. The avalanche was coming. We saw the fourth quarter, and when you know the game's over, which it was, it's hard to keep fighting the fight. And the Dogs, you don't want to use the term give up, but it was hard and it was a struggle for them, and you could see that. But I thought Bontempelli, Treloar, they never gave up and kept flying the flag.